Welcome everyone. I'm Rick Palazola, a member of our town's broadband committee. This is the fourth of the several training sessions we're organizing and hosting, and this is the second focusing on internet and cybersecurity. We are recording these presentations and the Q&As, and we will be posting them through the Trenton Town website and on YouTube. We're working on scheduling our next security segment, which may be in the fall, as we're probably taking a break over the summer months. The committee wishes to acknowledge and thank the Maine Community Foundation for their grant award supporting our broadband literacy training efforts. Town resident Diane Pacheco for sharing her expertise with us this evening, and the Jackson Laboratory for permission for Diane to do these presentations as a service to our town. And just before I introduce Diane, our broadband committee member Saul Goldman will share a few tips on our Zoom meeting participation.
Thanks, Rick. So you're probably all very familiar with Zoom, but just in case you need a little refresher and want to know how we want to run this meeting. So if you're comfortable with your video on, there's if you're on a computer, it's probably on the bottom left-hand side, the icon for a video, and you can leave your video on. We would like you to mute yourself, so there's a microphone icon. So you can mute yourself through most of the presentation. An important part of the presentation, Diane would like to have questions. So you can ask questions at the end of each slide, and you can ask them in a number of ways. You can just unmute yourself and talk, or you can raise your hand. You can either raise your hand physically or under reactions, which is part of the menu. There's a virtual raise hand, or if you like, you can put a comment into the chat. So they're also on the bottom menu, there's a chat, and you can chat to everyone. If you're having particular problems, not something that you need to talk to the whole group about, you can also put that in the chat, and Star or I will try to respond and be helpful to you. Ask questions. This is for you. If you have, at the end of each slide, Diane will have time for asking questions, clarifications. So we look forward to that presentation. I know for one, I'm scared to death about my cell phone security because I get all these things and I think, I don't know, is this good or not? So I'm looking forward to that presentation. Thank you, Diane.
All right, well, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Good. And you can see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have a couple of monitors, so if I want to look at you, I'm going to look this way, but my slide is over here, so hopefully it's not too disruptive for me not staring directly into the camera. So my name is Diane Pacheco. I am the Chief Information Security Officer at the Jackson Laboratory. I am also a longtime Trenton resident. I moved here in 1990, and I am very happy to be here with you today to share my knowledge on cybersecurity. So today we're going to talk about cell phone and computer security, and the things that you do to secure your cell phone are basically the same things that you do to secure your computer. Like Sal said earlier, if you have questions, please ask questions. This really is for you and to help you have more confidence using your computer and your cell phone to be kind of productive and safe on the internet. So I can't believe that it was back in February that I did the first session of these on protecting your identity online. This one is cell phone and computer security. And like Rachel said, probably sometime in the fall, because summer is short and you have to take advantage of every minute of it, we'll do email and web browsing security. I want to thank the Trenton Broadband Committee, all of the members here. This is a tremendous service for a small community to have so many people working so hard to make sure that people have good and reliable internet service, especially in the world that we're in these days, where maybe not everybody feels safe being out or in public, but certainly being able to see people kind of on a Zoom. Very much appreciate the work of this entire team to make sure that we have good services in Trenton. With that, I do want to say, while I do have permission from the Jackson Laboratory for presenting today, the opinions here today are mine and not reflective of the Jackson Laboratory. Again, my name is Diane Pacheco, and I'm super happy to be with you today. So let's get started. Security and convenience are really a balance, and each person has to kind of figure out what the balance is for themselves, how secure you want to be. Probably it will take extra steps to do things. If you're not being very secure, it might be very convenient, and you have to kind of weigh how much risk you're willing to take with decisions about how you use your phone and how you use your computer. There's no right or wrong answers. It's how much risk and how much convenience that you really want. So basics, all of the things that you should do for your cell phone and your computer, there are 5 things, basically 5 things that you should do to be secure. The first one is to make sure your operating system is up to date. The second one is to make sure all of your applications are up to date. The third one is to make sure that you have anti-malware protections on your device. The fourth one is strong authentication, right? So your passwords, kind of face scan, thumbprint scan, multi-factor authentication, the things that you know that let you access your applications and your banking information and to keep it protected. And the last one, which a lot of people forget to do, is to make sure that your data is backed up. Because if you lose your device or your device breaks, you need to make sure that you have your information to be able to take it to another device. Do you have any questions? That all makes sense.
Diane, Emily has a question in the chat. Is fingerprint better than PIN to unlock your phone or iPad?
I would say whichever one you use is the best one, but use one of them. Right? I'm a klutz. I can never get my fingerprint the right way. I use my face a lot. I also use a pin a lot. So, you know, if I have sunglasses on, yeah, the face doesn't work. I always remember my pin. So it's whichever one, but you should have something to lock your phone and to unlock your phone. Just don't leave it wide open. Okay. All right. Okay, so making sure that your operating system is up to date. And I did a couple of samples. My iPad, I'm an Android user. I don't have an iPhone. I'm a Windows user. I don't have a Mac. But no matter what device that you're using, all of them have a setting for upgrading your operating system. And I would strongly encourage you to make the setting so it's automatic and that you don't have to remember to kind of go looking for updates. So with the iOS, when you go into settings, you have automatic updates, and to make sure that that is turned on. And when you get prompts to install updates, you should not delay in installing them. A lot of times, the manufacturers will release updates because there is a security vulnerability, and the upgrade is actually to correct a security problem that's been uncovered. So the longer you go without having the update, the more at risk you are of a hacker compromising your device, which is why you get those reminders so frequently. Update, update, update. It's really important. This is one of the most important things that you can do to be secure, both with your phone and your computer, is to keep your operating system up to date. So same setting, but on an Android phone. Not all Android phones have the same version of the operating system, so some of the settings might be a little bit different. You go into settings, and on my particular phone, there is a software update, and I have that set to just automatically update. Windows operating system, same theory. You go into your settings, you have Windows Update, and you can check for your updates. There's also a setting to update automatically. So it doesn't matter what type of device you're using. If you go into your settings and look for updates, there's always a setting there to check for updates or to automatically update. Do you have any questions? Does that make sense? Okay. So then the next thing I want to talk about is updating your application. So the operating system is kind of the foundation of your computer or your phone. And then on top of that, you have your different applications. So you might have an email application, or you might have your banking applications. One of the things that's really important is when you're installing applications on your phone or on your computer, that you're only getting applications from a trusted source. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, there is the Apple App Store. One of the things that's important about the Apple App Store is that Apple reviews all of the applications that are available on its App Store to make sure that they do not have malware as part of them or problems associated with it. You want to make sure that just like you're updating your operating system, that you're always updating your applications. That's another place where there could be security vulnerabilities. And when there is an upgrade for your application, generally, it's either to patch a security vulnerability or to give you some enhanced features of the app. One of the things that you want to be careful of with apps is if you're visiting a website and you get a pop-up to install an application, you never want to install an application from a pop-up like that. That's a common way where malware gets planted on your devices. If there's an application that you need, you should always go to the App Store and download the trusted and reliable version of the application. So that's the version of it for Apple. There's also a Google version, the Google Play Store, same thing. So Google has a feature to do Play Protect. By default, Play Protect is on. You actually have the granularity to be able to turn it off. I do not recommend turning it off. This is one of the security features that's part of the operating system that you should keep enabled. But very similar to the Apple App Store, you have the Google Play Store, where the applications that are there are vetted by Google before they're posted. And you can go in and install your apps and have it automatically do updates in the background. So on your cell phones, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store are really the two places where you want to get applications and not install them from kind of a pop-up or another different type of website. Any questions? Oh, okay. So
Here's a
Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, there's a question in the chat, Diane, from Aaron, that says apps and programs often ask for a phone number or other information for added security to protect my account, quotation marks. I usually hesitate because I don't want them to have too much of my personal information. So the question is, what do you do when they want additional stuff? Are they phishing?
So if it's an app that you want to use, so for instance, my banking app asks me for my phone number. So if I ever, and the way I have it set up is multi-factor authentication, that I've got a password and it texts me a code that when I'm logging in from a new device, I get a text message that says, you need to type this code into the screen to prove it really is you. Without having my phone number, I don't have that second factor capability to be able to verify it. And it's more and more common these days that a piece of the security of applications and websites requires that second factor. So you have an ID and a password, that's your first factor. Your second factor is kind of a code that you get on your phone. That's double making sure that you are the person that's logging into the application. I would be cautious putting your phone number in kind of like a game site or things like that. But if you're using an app for your bank or your credit cards, typically they're asking you your phone number just as a piece of security. Does that make sense? Okay. Right, so the next thing is anti-malware protections are a must-have. I think the number is like on a Windows computer, if you put it on the internet without having anti-malware, it is likely infected. I want to say it's less than 30 seconds being on the internet without anti-malware on the device. So the new generation of anti-malware software have a lot of features in it. They have behavior detection capabilities. They'll scan for malware, and it's important that you run scans on a regular basis, right? A file gets installed on your computer and it's not recognized as malware today, but maybe tomorrow it will be recognized as malware. So the scan is kind of a retroactive, looking for something that wasn't known about in previous days, but it can detect it now. So behavior detection, something is unusual in the way your system is operating, running scans. The ability to take a file and quarantine it and remove it if it's got malware on it. And then web browsing. So if you are on a website and there is some pop-up or some malware that tries to be downloaded onto your computer from web browsing, the anti-malware can detect that and stop that. So there are many, many, many choices for anti-malware for both Windows, Mac, your iOS devices and your Android devices. You can do searches, you can look for kind of the top 10 anti-malware solutions for 2022, and you'll find a pretty reliable list. I personally use the Norton suite only because it's got a combination of a lot of features that I'm interested in. I'm going to go to the next slide right now. So a lot of the advanced anti-malware suites have extra features. It's not just scanning for antivirus. It gives you parental controls or firewall, VPN, secure browsing, password managers, identity theft protection. Some of them can even look for things that are slowing down your computer and do some system optimization. And some of them even have encrypted cloud storage to put your files in to keep them safe. As I was saying, I use the Norton suite because I can put it on a bunch of devices. I have it on my Android phone. It has a VPN as part of it. VPN is virtual private network. And so from my phone, if I'm connecting to my bank site, it's an encrypted tunnel between me and my bank that no hackers can see that traffic, which is why a VPN client is important. I like the password manager feature of it. And I also, because I'm one of those people that have had my information compromised through breaches, I do the identity theft protection as part of the Norton suite, and it kind of gives me heads up when it sees something on the internet that might be my email address or an old password or something like that. And I monitor that very closely in terms of changing passwords or making sure that I'm doing everything to keep my accounts secure. So anti-malware on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad really is a must in terms of security.
Diane, we have another question in the chat. There is often ad pop-ups from trusted apps. Is it okay to click on and download things from there?
I would not.
Okay.
I would not. If I was going to install something, I would go to an app store. Anything that is a pop-up is a red flag, suspicious in my eyes.
Thank you.
Diane, you talked about you're on Android and Windows. Some of us, of course, are on things like Windows and Apple. In my house, I have a PC and an iPhone. Jane has an iPhone and a Mac. Do you happen to know if any of the suites are multi-platform?
So there I sit. I've got my iPad. I've got my Android phone, and I'm sitting on a Windows computer, and I have Norton on all of them. So I say Norton, and I am not promoting Norton. It is just the one that kind of fits what I'm looking for. There are plenty of other ones out there. Really, it depends on how much you're willing to spend. What are the extra features that you want? right? Not everybody wants the identity protection. Not everybody wants the password manager. Not everybody wants kind of the cloud storage. Really, you have to kind of look at what's the combination of things that you're looking for. But the basics, right? I'm going to go back for a minute. The basics, you should make sure it does some type of behavior detection for anomalous behavior on your computer. It should be scanning. It should be able to quarantine and remove malware, and it should have some type of web browsing kind of features associated with it. Okay, Rick.
Yes, thank you, Diane.
Okay, all right. So on to the next one. So protecting your device using strong authentication, and Emily, I think you were the one before saying, hey, thumbprint or what, doesn't matter. It just makes sure that you have a lock on your phone, you know, long, strong passwords for your accounts, your phones. Make sure that you have it set that after a certain period of time, it just automatically locks. If you lose your phone, that's the thing that's going to keep your data safe. You know, 1 minute, maybe a little bit too long. I hate to say it, more like 30 seconds. If I'm using it, it's great. But when I stop using it, if I put my phone down or I drop it or I lose it, I want to make sure that it's locked before somebody else picks it up. Again, it's a balance between I want to be really secure or convenient. And if your phone is locking every 30 seconds and you're like, oh, this is annoying, and it's better to go longer than to turn it off. Again, it's the balance, and every person has to make that decision for themselves. I tend to go 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to talk about smishing again because cell phones these days, this is probably one of the biggest risks, right? People have gotten used to having anti-malware on their computers, and they're very careful with their web browsing. But now you have this new threat on your phone that hackers are texting people messages, and the links in the text messages have malware or take you to sites that have malware. And so you've got to be very careful with your cell phone and text messages. By default, I would not be responding to text messages from anyone that I don't know. I know that when I pay certain bills, or I've got alerts set up with my credit cards. If I have spending on my credit cards, I'll get a text message, you know, a charge just posted to your credit card. Those are familiar to me. I know those, but almost on a daily basis, I get a text message that says, hey, AT&T, thanks you. Here's a gift for paying your bill this month. I know AT&T is not giving me a gift for paying my bill this month. And so those messages, I think it's on my next slide, I show how to report those and how to block those calls. So if you are getting text messages and you think it might be something that's important, I would go to the vendor's website. A lot of times you'll have an account and you can log in with your account. So when my bank needs to get in touch with me, if they sent me a text message, I would never respond to that text message. I would actually log into my banking app, and I know I would get a secure message there. The same thing with kind of Facebook or social media accounts or other applications that you use. One of the things that you can do if you get a text message that you believe is fraudulent, and it doesn't matter if you're an AT&T or Verizon or US Cellular, they all use the same spam fraud alert, that you can take that message and forward it to 7726. And if you look at the numbers on your phone, it spells spam. And there are no charges associated with reporting those potentially fraudulent text messages that you get. And I would encourage you to report those. The only way these companies are going to do something to stop them is if they get a lot of reports that there are problems. If you're simply deleting them, then AT&T and US Cellular don't know how bad that problem is. Do you have any questions on that? No? Okay. So there are other ways that you can report text messages. So on my phone, and you'll see my AT&T one, that's my favorite one. I get these so frequently. If you press and hold the message for about 3 seconds, then another menu comes up. And one of the things that you can do from that menu is report it as spam. Again, this is through my AT&T account on an Android phone, but you can do similar on an iPhone. Once that I report it as spam, I'll get a pop-up that says I can block this number and I can delete the whole conversation. So I can get rid of everything and block it very simply by doing all of this, right? Press and hold the message, get the menu to report it as spam, and then block the message, and then delete the whole conversation. If you just forward the message, you still have to go back and block the number and delete the conversation. It's just a different way to do that same thing. Any questions on that?
I had a question.
Mhm.
Does that work for Verizon too, the press and hold for 3 seconds?
So every phone is different. I suspect on an iPhone, it's probably pretty close to the same. And I think it's pretty similar if you're AT&T or Verizon. It might be that you, the 3 dots, the ellipse, on some phones, you might have to hit the 3 dots to get the menu. What you don't want to do is be pressing the link when you're doing this.
And is there, I just have a follow-up question, because I actually got one from somebody who I didn't know, but it came in via WhatsApp, which is its own app run by Facebook, but it runs off of phone numbers. And it was obviously somebody I didn't know who thought they knew, you know, it's one of those like, hey, I knew you. But it didn't, I couldn't find anywhere to, I looked and looked, I couldn't find anywhere to report it as spam. So that was under WhatsApp. And so I can't remember how I got rid of it, but I think I deleted it. But my follow-up question to that, is there any risk in opening those messages as long as you don't hit any embedded links, like is just opening them?
Well, the only way I can look at it, the only way I can read the message is to look at it.
Okay, but
Right.
that doesn't open us up to vulnerability.
I also have the anti-malware protections on my phone.
Thank you.
I also have anti-malware protections on my phone. It's funny you're saying that. So I'm a WhatsApp user because my brother lives in Spain, and it's one of the common social media apps. I was just looking to see if there was a way to report it.
If you find out, let me know. I could not figure it out.
There's a block. Oh, there is a report.
Okay.
There is a report. So on WhatsApp, if you're looking at the message, and you look at the 3-dot ellipse. There's a drop-down menu that says view contact, media link, search, mute, notifications, disappearing messages, wallpaper, and more. And then when you hit more, you can hit report.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. You know, I saw report, but I didn't see report as spam. So maybe it just didn't click to me that it was the same thing. All right, thank you.
Emily had a question.
Okay.
She's in the chat.
Can you see Emily's question?
Yes.
Read it out loud.
Yep. I see that HTTPS is mentioned here. This was on a slide or two ago. Is
Yep.
HTTP valid or just not as secure?
So if you are going to a website where you are entering any kind of confidential information, it should absolutely positively 100% have the S. That's a security certificate. If you are looking at public information, I'm looking at, you know, books, a book list from the library. That doesn't have to be secure. Right, but anytime that you are on a website where you are going to be putting in any kind of information that you want to have protected, it should have the S, HTTPS for secure. Okay. Okay. Back up your data. I have to say I'm probably my own worst enemy, that I had my computer break down, and Rick knows this. IT people, it's never going to happen to me. Well, it happened to me. And it's painful when it happens. All you have to do is get, and I'm sure I've got some around here somewhere, a thumb drive, an external hard drive. You can use cloud storage. Make sure you have copies of your documents. If you do kind of your own taxes with TurboTax, all I can say is don't make the mistake that I made and not back up your TurboTax file, because it's very painful when you go and file taxes the next year to have to enter it all manually. Back up your data. If you get malware on your machine, and I hate to say ransomware, but ransomware on your machine, the only way you're going to get your stuff back is by restoring your backups. You should never even think about paying a ransom to get your data back. Doesn't matter how you do it. Thumb drive, cloud storage, external hard drive, just someplace separate and different from your computer to have your files. Okay, so just a quick summary, security for your cell phone and your computer. Update your operating system regularly. Don't delay. If you get a prompt to install those updates, make sure you do them right away. The other thing is you should make sure that your device is plugged into power when you're doing an update. Probably one of the worst things that could happen is to be in the middle of an update and lose battery power. So just make sure you've got it plugged into power when you're doing that update. The next one is make sure you also keep your applications updated and to use the trusted stores, the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And don't be installing apps from other websites or pop-ups. The next one is to enable user authentication. Make sure your screen is locked, pin, thumb, print, face, whatever it is, make sure that it locks when it's idle, your phone and your computer. Have anti-malware protections in place. Again, which one you pick Depends on how much you want to pay and what features that you want, but basically it should have behavior monitoring, the ability to scan, the ability to quarantine and remove malware, and to give you protections for web browsing. And the last one is to make sure that your data gets backed up. And then the last thing I want to talk about is a quick word about phishing, smishing, and vishing. And I can't believe we've come to this in this world. So phishing is when hackers send you an email, fraudulent email. Smishing is the same thing, but a text message. And then, of course, now we have the vishing. They don't even bother sending you an email or a text message. They literally just call you and ask you for the information. So one of the interesting things about all of these is the hackers just play on your emotions. Fear. If you don't do this, your account's going to get locked, or you're going to get a fine, or you're going to go to jail. Curiosity, something that you want to see, something that's intriguing. Anything that is urgent, that is time critical, or of course the ever popular, if you click on this and you submit this survey, you're going to get a $50 Amazon gift card, right? Some promise of reward. Your best defense to all of these literally is to take your hands off the keyboard or hang up the phone, to not let your kind of gut guide that you have to quickly react. Really, the best thing that you can do is kind of pause and think about, would the Social Security Administration literally call and try and contact me and get my Social Security number over the phone? Generally, if they want to get in touch with you, it's going to be snail mail, and something maybe with a phone number that you could call. I would say if I ever got anything in the mail, I would never trust the phone number on the piece of paper. I would always look it up independently, just because I'm paranoid, and don't even trust kind of the pieces of paper that come in the mail. You know, my favorite is the Microsoft tech guy that calls and says, I'm calling because you have a virus on your computer and I'm calling to help you. I hate to say, they're not that nice. They're not going to call you and help you troubleshoot your computer. Generally, what happens in that situation is they talk you into letting them connect to your computer, and then they try and steal as much data or information from you as they can, or they try and charge you a fee for the help that they've given you. You should be familiar how your bank and your credit card company kind of contact you. Mine might send me an email, but the email always says, log into your account and read the secure message, right? And sometimes they'll give you the link to log into your account. I never even use that link. Again, this is the, do you trust it? And is it convenient to just hit the link, or go to your web browser and type in the URL and log in? I always take the long route. I'll go to the website and I'll type in my password to get those messages. And anything that's time critical, you need to act in the next hour or the next 24 hours, or we need to hear from you right away. Or if you don't respond immediately, that's always a big red flag. There's nothing urgent that is going to come in an email or a phone call where you have to make a snap decision to do something. Pause. And then the last thing is, there is no such thing as free. You're not going to get the Amazon gift card for for clicking on the link and giving them your information. Again, they're trying to play to your emotions. It's not just email anymore. It is text messages, and it's very much text messages and more just blatant phone calls that they will, it's the easiest thing. It takes no technology. I'm going to call it and I'm going to ask for information. Crazy business these days. And with that, are there questions?
I have one more, Diane.
Okay,
On the VPN.
yes,
When I was working at the lab and working from home, we used the VPN connection, but I always understood that to be something that both sides had to be participating in. So
that's
how?
point to
Yeah,
point.
yeah, but so your bank doesn't need the same VPN software that you have in order for it to participate in that?
No, so I have the Norton VPN, and it's basically so Rick, you'll remember you have a VPN on your machine and there's a firewall on the other end. Well, my firewall is Norton. My firewall is Norton. They're the other end of my VPN. So I have a secure tunnel from my device, thanks to Norton, when I connect my bank or my credit card or whatever websites I go to. And I literally have my VPN set to automatically turn on.
Okay, and that works regardless of what other point you're contacting. Okay.
So does that work if you're like connecting, suppose you're out of your house and you're connecting to a different Wi-Fi?
Mhm.
Does the
That's-
VPN work through, like if you're at the public library and you need to connect to your Wi-Fi real quick?
That's exactly when you want to have your VPN turned on, is when you're on public Wi-Fi. That is
Like
the
the
number
airport.
one use case.
Okay.
Or at the Trenton Town office through
Or,
the Chess
yeah.
network, which has no security on it.
The Trenton Town office?
Nope, nothing.
Well, good to know.
Another project for the
Another
broadband
project for the
committee.
broadband.
Yeah,
I
that's
talked to Gary about
that's
that.
not good. That's not good. That should be
We
locked
might
down.
be able to,
It's just the guest network. Has
yeah.
no
That's
no
right.
security.
I can see it every once in a while from my house.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. Well, good. That's good to know.
I was going to say, and you could probably see my Wi-Fi every once in a while from there, but I have passwords on all
It
of
is
mine, so not wide open.
Is there any other questions from anybody attending? This is a time to ask any of the basic questions that were always in your head that we all have. Thank you for attending.
Keep your stuff updated. Keep your stuff updated. Have the anti-malware protections. Don't click on pop-ups. Get your apps from reliable places.
And thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you, Diane.
And thank you all for attending. We'll get the URL to the YouTube of this, and we'll get that published so that if you know people who missed this and could benefit from them, have them watch a replay of it.
Thank you so much, Diane. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Night.
Bye.